What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Let's be honest for a second. If you've looked at your grocery receipt lately, you already know money doesn't stretch the way it used to. Gas is up, ammo isn't cheap, and somehow everything costs more. Except paychecks. So when people hear the word broke, they think it means careless, rushed, or low quality. That's not what this video is about. Being broke just means being smart with what actually matters. It means buying something that works, something reliable, and something that won't make you regret the purchase 6 months later. This isn't a list of flashy guns or hypebeast picks. These are guns that make sense when the budget matters. Guns that run, guns that last, and guns people actually spend their own money on. Some of these are straight up cheap. Some of them just punch way above their price. Let's break it down, starting at the bottom and working our way up. This is not a gun that wins beauty contests or shows up in anyone's Instagram save flex. And that's exactly why it earns a spot here. The SD9 lives in that corner of the gun world where practicality beats pride every single time. It's the pistol seen in duty holsters for private security, dropped into nightstand drawers, or owned by someone who just wants one gun that works. Yes, the trigger is heavy. Nobody's pretending otherwise. But that trigger weight hasn't stopped it from putting rounds where they need to go. Year after year, with minimal maintenance and very little drama, the slide cycles reliably. Magazines are cheap and easy to find, and the overall design is refreshingly boring in the best way possible. When money is tight, excitement isn't the goal. Avoiding disappointment is. The SD9 doesn't ask for upgrades, doesn't demand attention, and doesn't punish its owner for choosing function over fashion. That's why this list starts here, grounded in reality, not marketing. Few guns sit at the intersection of online outrage and real-world popularity. Quite like the Taurus G3C. Spend enough time in comment sections, and you'd think every Taurus self-destructs the moment it leaves the box. Step outside the internet, though, and suddenly there are millions of these being carried daily and shot regularly. That disconnect matters. The G3C didn't earn its place through influencer hype or brand loyalty. It earned it by being affordable, compact, and usable right out of the gate. The size works well for concealed carry. Capacity is practical, and recoil is more manageable than people expect at this price point. Is it perfect? No. But perfection isn't the bar when the budget is tight. Consistency is. For a lot of owners, the G3C becomes the gun that actually gets carried, instead of left at home because it was uncomfortable, heavy, or too nice. And a carried gun beats a better gun sitting in a safe every time. That's why it stays on the list. Acknowledged, proven by the market, and included without apology. This is usually the point where people stop buying the cheapest option and start buying the smartest one. The Shield sits right in that transition zone. It's not flashy, it's not new, and it's definitely not trying to impress anyone on the internet. But it's earned its reputation the hard way. The Shield works because it solves real problems. It's thin enough to conceal comfortably, light enough to carry all day, and large enough to shoot well under stress. Reliability has never been in question. This platform has been carried by civilians, off-duty cops, and plainclothes professionals for years, and it shows in how predictable it feels on the range. From a technical standpoint, recoil management is reasonable for a gun this size. The trigger is consistent, and aftermarket support is massive. Holsters, magazines, sights. Everything is easy to find and usually affordable, and that matters when money is tight. This is the gun people end up with after realizing that cheap and good value are not the same thing. The Shield earns its place by being boring in all the right ways. If the Glock formula makes sense but the price doesn't, this is where the Ruger RXM enters the conversation. It borrows heavily from what already works and focuses on delivering that experience at a lower cost, without turning it into a science project. The RXM's strength shows up in practical testing. Dirt, dust, and less than ideal conditions don't seem to slow it down much, which is exactly what matters for a budget-minded defensive pistol. Ergonomics are familiar, controls are straightforward, and the grip angle feels instantly usable to anyone who's spent time behind striker-fired pistols. Trigger feel isn't competition grade, but it's predictable. That consistency is more important than a light break when the goal is reliability under pressure. Magazines are affordable, maintenance is simple, and Ruger's reputation for durability carries weight with buyers who don't want surprises. The RXM isn't trying to replace the Glock. It's offering a realistic alternative for people who want that style of handgun without stretching their budget. And for a lot of shooters, that's more than good enough. This is where the list starts getting fun. Koenig has a habit of embarrassing more expensive brands, and the MC9LS continues that tradition. The first thing most shooters notice isn't the size or the capacity. It's the trigger. For a micro-compact at this price point, it feels almost unfair. On the range, the MC9LS shoots softer than expected. Grip texture is aggressive enough to matter without being uncomfortable, and the slide tracks are flatter than many guns in this category. That makes fast follow-up shots easier, especially for shooters who struggle with snappy Micro 9s. From a feature standpoint, it punches well above its weight. Optics compatibility, usable sights, and solid magazine capacity give it real flexibility. This isn't a compromise gun. It's a budget gun that feels like it skipped a few steps in development. For shooters who want performance without paying a premium, this is where expectations start to shift. The MC9LS proves that being broke doesn't mean settling. Sometimes it just means knowing where the real value is hiding. There's a big difference between owning a gun and actually having it on you when it matters. That's where the Bodyguard 2.0 earns its keep. This is the kind of pistol that fits into real life, not just a range bag or a carefully planned outfit. Toss it on with gym shorts, mesh shorts, or athletic wear, and it doesn't become a burden. The weight is the first thing noticed, or more accurately, how little of it there is. That makes a difference over long days, especially for people who've tried carrying heavier compacts and quietly stopped. Capacity is reasonable for the size, recoil is controllable, and the grip geometry helps keep the gun planted despite its small frame. From a practical standpoint, this is a pistol that encourages consistency. It's easy to conceal, easy to live with, and simple to operate. Those factors matter more than raw specs when carry habits are the goal. A reliable micro-compact that stays with you beats a larger, better gun left at home. That's the niche the Bodyguard 2.0 fills, and it fills it well. Every once in a while, the gun community agrees on something. The Maverick 88 is one of those rare cases. It doesn't matter which forum, comment section, or range conversation you wander into. This shotgun keeps coming up for the same reasons. Mechanically, it's simple, pump action, proven design, and controls that don't require a learning curve. It runs a wide range of loads, handles abuse better than its price tag suggests, and doesn't need constant tuning to stay reliable. For home defense, that simplicity is a feature, not a drawback. The value here is straightforward. Replacement parts are easy to find. Aftermarket support exists if needed, and maintenance is minimal. There's no fragile system waiting to fail, and no proprietary nonsense driving up ownership costs. When budgets are tight, versatility matters. A shotgun that can handle home defense, training, and general utility without complaint earns its spot. The Maverick 88 isn't exciting, and it doesn't try to be, it just works. And that's why so many people recommend it without hesitation. Here's where the conversation shifts from hardware to economics. Shooting skill doesn't come from owning expensive gear. It comes from rounds downrange. And when ammo prices are factored in, very few platforms make more sense than a 10-22. The appeal isn't complicated. 22 LR is affordable, widely available, and forgiving for new shooters. That means more practice, fewer flinches, and better fundamentals over time. The rifle itself is famously reliable, easy to maintain, and supported by one of the largest aftermarket ecosystems in the industry. Buying one used only strengthens the argument. Even at a modest price, it delivers years of utility without demanding upgrades or constant attention. It's equally at home teaching fundamentals, running drills, or just spending a long afternoon at the range without watching the ammo budget evaporate. When money is tight, the smartest investment is often the one that keeps skills sharp. The 10-22 doesn't promise excitement. It delivers consistency. And in the long run, that consistency pays off far more than chasing bigger calibers. Stepping into the ARV changes the tone from budget fun to budget utility. This is Palmetto State Armory's take on a 9mm carbine, meant to live closer to duty use than range toy. The RV uses a Scorpion pattern magazine, which matters because those mags are durable, affordable, and easy to source. Something that becomes important once round counts start climbing. Weight is higher than polymer PCCs, but that mass pays dividends in recoil control. The RV shoots flat, stays on target during rapid strings, and feels stable with a light or optic mounted. Controls follow familiar AR patterns, which shortens the learning curve for anyone already comfortable with the platform. From a maintenance standpoint, the system is straightforward. PSA's reputation for accessible parts and support makes ownership less stressful, especially for buyers who don't want proprietary headaches down the road. This isn't the cheapest way into a PCC, but it's one of the most confidence-inspiring at its price. For shooters who want a 9mm carbine that behaves like a rifle rather than a toy, the ARV earns its position near the top of the list. Not everyone wants to build an AR from a pile of parts, and that's where the AR-556 makes sense. Ruger designed this rifle for buyers who want something functional right out of the box, without having to research gas systems, buffer weights, or compatibility issues. The AR-556 follows a traditional AR layout with a direct impingement system, standard controls, and wide compatibility with common magazines and accessories. Reliability is the key selling point here. Ruger's quality control and conservative design choices reduce the odds of surprises, which is exactly what budget-conscious buyers should be prioritizing. Accuracy is what you'd expect from a service-grade AR. It's more than sufficient for home defense, training, and general use. The rifle balances well, accepts optics easily, and doesn't require immediate upgrades to be usable. Price-wise, it sits higher than entry-level builds, but that premium buys peace of mind. For someone who wants an AR-15 without turning ownership into a project, the AR-556 delivers consistency. When money is tight, avoiding costly mistakes can be just as important as saving up front. This is the point where some viewers pause and question the title. And that reaction is fair. The Echelon isn't cheap in the traditional sense. What it offers instead is long-term value that can justify the initial hit when buying once is the goal. Springfield designed the Echelon around a robust chassis system and a modern optics interface that doesn't rely on adapter plates. That matters because it reduces failure points and simplifies mounting red dots. After extended testing, including high round counts well beyond the break-in phase, the platform has shown consistent reliability. Ergonomics are a strong suit. The grip angle, texture, and interchangeable back straps allow the pistol to fit a wide range of shooters. Recoil impulse is manageable for a full-size handgun. And the trigger, while not competition-focused, is predictable and usable under stress. For buyers who don't plan on cycling through multiple pistols, the Echelon represents a buy once, use hard philosophy. It stretches the definition of broke, but it does so by offering durability and adaptability that reduce the need for future replacements. If there's one gun on this list that feels like it shouldn't be this easy to shoot for the money, it's the X-Star EP9. Pick it up, run a few magazines through it, and the reaction is almost always the same. Wait, that's it. No drama, no learning curve, no punishment on the shoulder or wrists. The EP9 shines where budget guns usually fall apart. Control. Recoil is minimal, the gun tracks flat, and fast follow-up shots feel almost effortless. That's why people keep making the same joke. Shooting it feels like playing Call of Duty with recoil turned down. It's not just fun, it's confidence building, especially for shooters who don't want to fight their gear. Using Glock magazines keeps things practical. Mags are everywhere, prices are reasonable, and compatibility removes one more headache from ownership. The lightweight polymer construction also matters more than it sounds. Less weight up front means less fatigue and more time actually enjoying the range instead of counting rounds. What really pushes the EP9 to the top is how many people buy one, shoot it hard, and never feel the need to replace it. When a budget gun becomes a long-term favorite, that's not hype, that's earned. So that's the list. Not a fantasy wish list, not a catalog flex. Just guns that make sense when money actually matters. Some of these are cheap, some of them just save you from buying twice. And all of them earned their spot by doing what they're supposed to do when it counts. Being broke doesn't mean cutting corners. It means choosing smarter. Now here's the real question. What would you change? What did this list get right? And what deserves to be bumped off for something you trust more? Drop it in the comments. I read those. And that's how these lists get better. If this helped you out, hit like. Consider subscribing. And as always, stay safe and take care of each other.